Deho checked the cargo manifest for the third time that morning. The numbers still looked wrong. Someone had changed their route, and nobody had bothered to tell him about it. He stood in the loading bay of the Harmonious Exchange Station, watching the loading robots move containers onto his ship. The station was busy today, filled with aliens from dozens of different worlds. Something wrong? Hyojin asked, walking up beside him. She held a datapad and wore her usual smile. Hyojin was always smiling, always curious about everything. That was why she became a xenobiologist. They changed our route, Deho said, showing her his screen. We're going through the Ashvale Nebula now. Hyojin's smile faded a little. That's strange. Nobody uses that route. Exactly. Before they could discuss it further, someone rushed toward them. It was Velthar, a Coloxian merchant they had worked with before. The insect-like alien moved on 6 legs, his antennae twitching wildly. He looked scared. Humans! Humans! Velthar's translator made his voice sound high and worried. You cannot go through the Ashvale. You must refuse this route. Deho raised an eyebrow. Why? What's in the Ashvale Nebula? Velthar's 4 eyes widened. You do not know? Nobody told you? He made a chittering sound that the translator did not convert. The Veilborn live there. They hunt in that space. Many ships have gone in. Few come out. Veilborn? Hyojin pulled out her datapad and started searching. I've never heard of them. Of course not. Your species is new here. New to the galaxy. Velthar moved closer, lowering his voice. The Veilborn are death itself. Massive creatures that live in the nebula. They sense life, they hunt, they kill. Even the Chromath will not go there. Deho knew about the Chromath. They were one of the galaxy's warrior races, built like walking tanks with scales as hard as metal. If they avoided something, it was serious. There must be another way around, Hyojin said. Yes. Many other ways. Safer ways. Go back to the routing office. Demand a different path. Velthar's antennae kept twitching. Please, I have sold goods to you before. You are good traders. I do not want you to die. A deep voice interrupted them. They will die if they go into the Ashvale. All 3 of them turned. Captain Barron stood behind them, his massive form casting a shadow over the group. The Chromath officer had scars across his face and arms, marks from battles he had survived. He wore his military uniform with pride. Captain Baroon. Deho nodded in greeting. You know about the Veilborn? Know about them? Baroon's translator made his laugh sound like rocks grinding together. I have seen them once. My ship detected something in the outer edge of the nebula. We went to investigate. We were fools. He touched one of his scars. This is from that day. We lost half our crew before we escaped. Hyojin looked at her datapad. I'm finding almost nothing in the database about these creatures. Because those who see them rarely survive to report, Baroon said. And those who survive do not wish to remember. The Veilborn are apex predators, human. The greatest hunters in known space. They are massive, intelligent, and they never stop hunting once they have your scent. So we changed the route, Hyojin said, looking at Deho. Deho was quiet for a moment. He looked at the fear in Velthar's eyes. He looked at the scars on Baroon's face. Then he checked his datapad again. The contract pays triple for this route, and it says the cargo is medical supplies for a colony. No payment is worth your life, Velthar insisted. Maybe not, Deho said, but people need those supplies. If we don't take this job, who will? Baroon stepped forward. His large hand landed on Deho's shoulder. Listen to me, human. I have fought in 23 battles. I have killed enemies with my bare hands. I wear my scars with honor. His voice became serious. But in all my years of warfare, nothing has terrified me like the Veilborn. You will run from the real apex predator, human. They all do. Everyone runs. Deho looked up at the massive alien warrior. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, calm and quiet. We'll see. Baroon's eyes narrowed. You do not understand what you face. Maybe not, Deho admitted. But we're going anyway. Velthar made a distressed chittering sound. This is madness. Your species is too new, too young to understand the dangers of the galaxy. Perhaps, Hyojin said, standing beside Deho. But humans have faced dangerous things before. We're still here. Not like this, Baroon said. Nothing in your world could prepare you for the Veilborn. Deho thought about that. About Earth. About the animals humans had faced during their evolution. Lions, bears, snakes, sharks. every predator imaginable. And yet humans had survived, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they were stubborn. "We need to gather our crew," Daeho said to Hyojin, "and we should research everything we can find about these Veilborn." "There is nothing to research," Barun said. "Only warnings. Only death counts. Then we'll be careful." Daeho looked at the Chromath captain. "Thank you for the warning, truly, but people need those medical supplies." Barun stared at him for a long moment. Then he shook his head slowly. "You humans are either very brave or very stupid. I have not decided which. Can't it be both?" Daeho asked with another small smile. Velthar had not stopped shaking. "I will light memorial flames for you. It is the least I can do." "We appreciate the thought," Hyojin said gently, "but light them after we return." "If you return," Barun corrected. "In 3 days, when you do not report back, the galaxy will note that another ship was lost to the Ash Veil. Your species will learn the same lesson all others have learned. Some places are not meant for the living." Daeho and Hyojin watched as Barun walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing through the loading bay. Velthar stayed a moment longer, his antennae drooping sadly. "I wish you would change your minds," the Quiloxian said softly. "We can't," Daeho replied. "Not when people are counting on us." After Velthar left, Hyojin turned to Daeho. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" Daeho watched the last of the cargo being loaded onto their ship. "Probably. But somebody has to try. Why us? Because we're here. And because we're human." He looked at her. "We've always been good at doing impossible things." Hyojin smiled again, though it was smaller than before. "We should tell the crew what we're facing." "Agreed. No surprises. Everyone should know the risk." They walked toward their ship, the Resilient Dawn. It was not the biggest vessel or the fastest, but it had carried them safely through many journeys. Daeho hoped it would carry them through one more. Behind them, other aliens in the loading bay watched. Word was already spreading. The humans were going into the Ash Veil Nebula. The humans were going to face the Veilborn. Some aliens made gestures of respect. Others made gestures of farewell. All of them believed they would never see these humans again. But Daeho just kept walking, that small smile still on his face. He had been warned about the apex predator. He had been told he would run, yet something in his human heart, something old and stubborn, simply refused to accept it. The Resilient Dawn entered the Ash Veil Nebula 3 hours after leaving the station. Jiwoo sat at the pilot's controls, her hand steady on the navigation system. She had flown racing ships before joining the cargo service. She knew how to handle difficult situations. "Sensors are getting fuzzy," she reported. "The nebula is interfering with everything." Young Mi looked up from her engineering station. "That's normal for this kind of space cloud. Lots of electromagnetic interference. We just have to trust our instruments and fly carefully." Daeho stood behind Jiwoo's chair watching the view screen. The nebula looked beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Purple and blue gases swirled in the darkness. Strange lights flickered in the distance like ghostly fires that appeared and disappeared. "How long until we're through?" asked Tae-sung. The security officer stood near the door, always alert, always watching. 36 hours if we maintain current speed," Jiwoo answered. "Longer if we have to slow down." Hyojin was at her science station, reading everything she could find about the Veilborn. There was not much information. "Just warnings and old reports. Most of what I'm finding is secondhand," she said. "Stories from people who heard from other people. Very few direct accounts. Because direct witnesses do not survive," Tae-sung said quietly. "Some do," Hyojin corrected. "Captain Barun survived. His report is here. He says the Veilborn are massive, at least 200 meters long. They have multiple appendages like tentacles. They hunt by sensing bioelectric fields from living creatures. So they can sense us," Young Mi said. She stopped her usual humming. "Can we hide from them?" "Not easily. Every living thing produces bioelectric fields. Our hearts, our brains, all our cells. Even the ship's life support systems create fields they might detect." Daeho thought about this. "So they know we are here?" "Probably." The crew was quiet for a moment. Then Young Mi started humming again, an old song from Earth. Soon she was singing softly while she worked on the engine readings. The tension in the room decreased a little. "You're brave," Jiwoo said to her. "Not brave, just practical," Young Mi smiled. "Being scared won't help us. Staying alert will." Hours passed. The resilient dawn moved deeper into the nebula. The gases grew thicker. The strange lights became more frequent. Daeho ordered the crew to rest in shifts. They would need to stay sharp. Hyojin brought him food while he was on watch. "Can't save a colony if you starve yourself," she said. "Fair point." He took the meal. "Found anything else about these creatures?" "Not much. But I'm thinking about what Captain Baroon said, that they are apex predators." She sat down beside him. "What makes something an apex predator?" "Being at the top of the food chain." "Nothing hunts you?" "Right. And how do apex predators usually hunt?" Daeho thought about the animals from Earth. "Depends on the predator. Lions hunt in groups. Sharks patrol their territory. Eagles strike from above. Most apex predators use ambush tactics or short bursts of speed," Hyojin said. "They are powerful, but they tire quickly. They cannot chase prey for hours, but humans can." "Exactly. Humans are persistence hunters. We are not the fastest or strongest, but we can keep going long after other animals give up." Daeho understood what she was suggesting. "You think we can outlast them?" "If we have to fight, maybe. But I hope we can just pass through without trouble." That hope ended 12 hours into their journey through the nebula. "Contact," Jiwoo shouted. "Something big on sensors, very big. 3 kilometers off our port side." Everyone rushed to their stations. Daeho pulled up the sensor data. The readings were unclear because of the interference, but something massive was definitely out there. "Can we avoid it?" Daeho asked. "Trying." Jiwoo's hands moved quickly over the controls. Adjusting course, the thing moved with them. It was following. "Increase speed," Daeho ordered. The ship accelerated. The thing kept pace. "It knows we are here," Taesung said. His hand rested on his weapon. Then the sensors showed more contacts. 2 more, then 4. They were surrounded. "Veilborn," Hyojin whispered. The first attack came without warning. Something struck the ship hard enough to shake everyone. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. "Hull breach in cargo bay 2, Young Mai reported. "Sealing emergency doors." Through the view screen, they saw it. A massive appendage thick as a building, covered in what looked like both flesh and something else, something that did not look natural. It pressed against their ship, searching, probing, evasive maneuvers. Daeho commanded. Jiwoo sent the ship into a sharp turn. The appendage slid away, but more appeared. Tentacles or arms or something in between, reaching out from the purple gases of the nebula. Taesung fired the ship's defensive weapons. Energy blasts struck the appendages. They recoiled but did not retreat. "They are testing us," Hyojin said, watching her sensors, "trying to understand what we are." Another impact. The ship shook again. "We cannot keep taking hits like this," Youngmi warned. "The hull will fail." Daeho made a decision. "Jiwoo, plot a course straight through. Maximum speed. That will take us deeper into their territory." "I know, but we cannot fight them and we cannot go back. So we go forward," Jiwoo nodded. Her hands danced over the controls. The resilient dawn surged forward, engines burning hot. The Veilborn pursued. Through the sensors, the crew could see them now. Massive shapes in the nebula, barely visible. They moved like nothing from Earth, smooth and terrible. Their bodies seemed to shift and change, hard to focus on. "More contacts ahead," Jiwoo reported. "We are entering a feeding ground." "How many?" Daeho asked. "At least a dozen, maybe more. The interference makes it hard to count." Taesung looked at Daeho. "We are outnumbered." "Yes, so what do we do?" Daeho thought about Captain Baroon's words, about apex predators, about running. Then he thought about humans, about Earth, about how his ancestors had hunted animals much stronger than themselves. "We keep moving," he said. "No matter what happens, we do not stop. These things are ambush hunters. They want us to panic, to make mistakes. Instead, we stay calm and we keep going." Another impact. Sparks flew from a control panel. Youngmi rushed to fix it, singing nervously under her breath. "They are getting more aggressive," Hyojin said. "I think they are frustrated. We are not acting like their usual prey." "Good," Daeho said. "Let them be frustrated." The hours that followed were a nightmare. The Veilborn attacked again and again. Each time Jiwoo dodged. Each time Youngmi repaired the damage. Each time the crew kept the ship moving forward. They saw more of the creatures now. Bodies that seemed too large to be real. Eyes that glowed in the darkness. Mouths filled with things that might be teeth or might be something worse. "They are beautiful in a terrible way," Hyojin said softly, recording everything. "They are death," Taesung replied. Yes, but also alive. Also part of nature. Just a different kind of nature than we know. Daeho understood what she meant. The Veilborn were not evil. They were just doing what they were made to do. Hunting, surviving. But that did not mean he would let them kill his crew. How much longer? He asked Jiwoo. 24 hours to the far side of their territory. If we can maintain this pace, we will maintain it. We must. The crew settled into a brutal routine. Dodge, repair, move forward. Dodge, repair, move forward. Hours blurred together. They ate while working. They rested in short shifts. The Veilborn never stopped hunting, but neither did the humans stop running. Young Mi sang old songs to keep her spirits up. Jiwoo made jokes about her racing days. Taesung told stories about his home village. Hyojin continued recording data, finding wonder even in the terror, and Daeho kept them moving, always moving, never stopping, because that was what humans did. They endured. The Veilborn grew more desperate. Their attacks became wilder, less coordinated. They were not used to prey that refused to give up. They were confused. I think we are tiring them out, Hyojin said, surprise in her voice. Daeho looked at the sensor readings. She was right. The creatures were slowing down. They were frustrated. They had never faced anything like this before. Keep going, he said quietly. Just keep going. 30 hours into their journey through the Ashvale Nebula, Daeho realized they were in the middle of something that had never happened before. The Veilborn were still hunting them, but now the great creatures seemed uncertain. They are changing their pattern, Hyojin observed. She had been awake for 18 hours straight, refusing to rest while there was data to record. Look at the sensor logs. In the first hour they attacked every 12 minutes. Now it is every 40 minutes. Daeho studied the patterns. She was right. They are getting tired. Is that possible? Jiwoo asked. Her eyes were red from fatigue, but her hands remained steady on the controls. I thought apex predators did not get tired. All predators get tired, Hyojin explained. Especially ambush hunters. They rely on powerful bursts of energy, but if the prey escapes the first attack, the hunter often gives up. It uses too much energy to chase for long periods. Young Mi crawled out from under an access panel, grease on her face. So we are beating them by just not dying. Essentially, yes. Taesung, who had been quiet for hours, spoke up. On Earth there is an old story about how humans used to hunt antelope on the plains. The antelope were much faster, but humans would chase them for hours, sometimes days. The antelope would run, rest, but the humans never stopped. Eventually, the antelope would collapse from exhaustion. Then the humans would make the kill. Persistence hunting, Daeho said. I read about it. Our ancestors used that technique for thousands of years. Can we really do the same to the Veilborn? Young Mi asked. They are so much larger than us. Size does not matter if you cannot catch your prey, Hyojin said. And they cannot catch us because we refuse to stop moving. Another impact rocked the ship, but it was weaker than before. The Veilborn's appendage slid off the hull quickly as if the creature lacked the strength to hold on. That one barely scratched us, Young Mi reported. Daeho felt a spark of hope, but he knew they could not celebrate yet. They still had hours to go, and his crew was reaching their limits too. We need to rest more efficiently, he said. Jiwoo, can you set the autopilot for 20 minutes? Get some sleep. The autopilot might not react fast enough if they attack. Then I will watch. I can make manual corrections if needed. Jiwoo hesitated, then nodded. She moved to a rest chair and was asleep within minutes. Daeho took her position at the controls. His eyes felt heavy, but he forced them to stay open. His crew was counting on him. Hyojin brought him strong tea. You need to rest too. I will. After Jiwoo wakes up. You have been on duty for 32 hours. So have you. She smiled tiredly. I am running on curiosity. This is the most interesting thing I have ever studied. Even while we might die, especially because we might die, it makes everything more real. She sat beside him. Do you think we will make it? Daeho was quiet for a moment. I think we have a chance. A better chance than anyone expected? Captain Baran said everyone runs from the Veilborn. He was right. Everyone does run. Daeho looked at the sensor display showing the massive creatures still following them. But humans have always been very good at running. We just run differently than others expect. Another hour passed. The attacks became even less frequent. Young Mai managed to catch some sleep while the ship's automated systems handled minor repairs. Tae-sung stayed awake watching the sensors, his hand still near his weapon even though he knew it would do little against creatures so massive. When Ji-woo woke up, she looked at the logs and gasped. "We are pulling ahead. They are falling behind." It was true. The Veilborn were still pursuing, but the distance between the ship and the creatures was growing. Not by much, but enough to be noticeable. "They are giving up," Hyojin said with wonder in her voice. "No," Daeho corrected. "They are not giving up. They just cannot keep pace. This is probably the longest chase they have ever experienced." Tae-sung studied the sensor readings. "These creatures have controlled this nebula for a long time. I wonder how many ships they have destroyed?" "Hundreds, probably," Hyojin said. "Maybe thousands over the centuries. Every ship that came through probably acted the same way. They panicked, they tried to fight, or they tried to run back. But nobody just kept going forward, because it seems impossible," Youngmi said. She had woken up and returned to her engineering station. "When something that big is hunting you, your instinct says to hide or run away fast, not to just keep moving at a steady pace. That is what makes humans different," Daeho said. "We learned to ignore those instincts when we had to. Our ancestors could not outrun lions or outfight bears. So they learned to outlast them. Another attack came, but it was weak. The appendage touched their ship and then pulled away quickly, as if the Veilborn no longer had the energy to commit. They are definitely exhausted," Ji-woo reported. "Their movement patterns are sluggish." "How much longer until we are out of their territory?" Daeho asked. 14 hours, but I think we will be safe much sooner. Look." She pointed at the sensors. "There is a boundary marker ahead, some kind of electromagnetic signature. I think it marks the edge of their hunting ground." "They are territorial," Hyojin said excitedly. "Of course. Most apex predators are territorial. They do not chase prey beyond their borders." "How far to the boundary?" Tae-sung asked. 6 hours at current speed." The crew looked at each other. 6 more hours. They had been fighting for their lives for more than 30 hours already. 6 more hours seemed both impossibly long and surprisingly short. "We can do 6 hours," Youngmi said. She started humming again, then singing. An old song about journeys and coming home. The others joined in one by one. Even Tae-sung, who rarely spoke, sang quietly. Their voices were tired and off-key, but the sound filled the ship with something the Veilborn could never understand. Human spirit. The next 5 hours were tense but calmer. The Veilborn continued to follow at a distance, but they no longer attacked. They seemed to be waiting, perhaps hoping the ship would stop or turn back. But the resilient Dawn kept moving forward. 1 hour to the boundary, Ji-woo announced. The entire crew was awake now, watching, waiting. 30 minutes. The Veilborn stopped following. The massive shapes in the nebula grew still, floating in the purple gases like ancient monuments. "They know we are leaving their territory," Hyojin said. "They are letting us go." 10 minutes. Daeho felt something strange. Relief, yes, but also sadness. They had survived, but many others had not. How many crews had died in this nebula? How many ships had been torn apart? 5 minutes. Youngmi took Tae-sung's hand. Ji-woo gripped the controls tightly. Hyojin recorded everything, her fingers shaking slightly as she typed. 1 minute. The ship crossed the invisible boundary. Nothing dramatic happened. The nebula looked the same. The stars were still hidden by purple gases, but the sensors showed the Veilborn turning away, returning to the depths of their territory. "We are clear," Ji-woo said softly. "We are out of their hunting ground." For a moment nobody spoke. They had done something impossible. They had crossed the Ashvale Nebula. They had faced the Veilborn and survived. Then Youngmi laughed. It was a tired, almost hysterical laugh, but it was real. Soon the others joined in. Even Daeho smiled, really smiled for the first time in 2 days. "We did it," Hyojin said. "We actually did it." "Never doubted it," Ji-woo lied with a grin. Tae-sung shook his head in disbelief. "Captain Barun will not believe this." "I am not sure I believe it," Youngmi admitted. Daeho looked at his crew. They were exhausted, dirty, and shaking from adrenaline and relief. They were also the bravest people he had ever known. "Get some rest, everyone," he said. "We still have a delivery to make." As the crew dispersed to their quarters, Daeho remained on the bridge. He looked back at the nebula, at the place where the Veilborn lived. The place everyone said was impossible to cross. Humans had just proved them wrong, not through superior weapons or advanced technology, just through simple, stubborn persistence, through the refusal to give up. It was the most human thing possible. The resilient Dawn limped out of the Ashvale Nebula 12 hours after crossing the Veilborn boundary. The crew had slept in shifts, but exhaustion still hung over them like a heavy blanket. Young Mai worked constantly to repair the damage to the ship. The hull had been breached in 4 places. Several systems were barely functioning, but they were alive. Daeho sat in the captain's chair drinking his 5th cup of tea. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but his mind was too active to rest. They had survived something that should have killed them. He kept wondering how. "I have been analyzing the data we collected," Hyojin said, walking onto the bridge. She looked terrible, her hair messy and her clothes stained, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "I found something strange." "Everything about those creatures is strange," Jiwoo said from the pilot's seat. "No, I mean really strange. Look at this." Hyojin pulled up a display showing the bioelectric readings from the Veilborn. "See these patterns? They are not natural." Daeho leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Living creatures have organic bioelectric patterns. Random variations, genetic mutations, individual differences. But the Veilborn's patterns are too regular. Too perfect. Almost like they were designed. Designed by who?" Taesung asked. He had been cleaning his weapon, but now he stopped to listen. "I do not know. But I sent a query to Dr. Soonbach. She is a human archaeologist who studies ancient civilizations. If anyone knows about this region of space, it is her." As if summoned, the communication system beeped. A message from Dr. Soonbach had arrived. Hyojin opened it immediately. An older woman's face appeared on the screen. Dr. Soonbach had gray hair and kind eyes that held deep knowledge. "Hyojin, I heard about your journey through the Ashvale. You are incredibly lucky to be alive." "Or incredibly stubborn," Youngmi muttered, making the others smile. "I looked at the data you sent me," Dr. Soonbach continued. "You are correct. The Veilborn are not natural creatures. They were created by the architects." "The architects?" Daeho had heard the name before. "The ancient civilization that disappeared?" "Yes. Thousands of years ago, the architects controlled this entire region of space. They were incredibly advanced, far beyond what we have today. They built incredible things. Cities that floated between stars, ships that could cross galaxies, and guardians to protect their territory." Hyojin pulled up a star map. "The ruins in this region, they are all architect sites?" "Exactly. And the Ashvale Nebula sits right in the middle of their former empire. I believe the Veilborn were created to guard something important. Something the architects wanted protected forever." "What happened to the architects?" Jiwoo asked. Dr. Soonbach's expression became sad. "Nobody knows for certain, but based on the evidence, I think their guardians turned on them. The Veilborn were designed to be perfect apex predators. They could detect any life form, survive in any environment, and hunt anything. But the architects made them too perfect, too powerful. Eventually, the Veilborn stopped following orders. They just hunted." The crew was silent, absorbing this information. "So these creatures have been here for thousands of years," Taesung said, "killing anything that enters their territory." "Yes, and they have been very effective. Look at this." Dr. Soonbach shared another file. It showed trade routes through the galaxy. There was a massive gap where the Ashvale Nebula was located. For centuries, all galactic traffic has avoided this entire region. Entire trade networks have been disrupted. Colonies have been isolated. All because of creatures that were meant to be guardians but became monsters. Daeho thought about Captain Baroon's fear, about Velthar's warning. The entire galaxy had been shaped by these creatures. Entire civilizations had changed their behavior to avoid them. "I have more information," Dr. Soonbach said. "I studied the genetic data you collected from the Veilborn. They were engineered to counter every known threat. Fast prey, armored prey, intelligent prey, even prey that could turn invisible or teleport. The architects thought of everything. Except persistence," Hyojin said quietly. "What?" "They designed the Veilborn to counter every kind of threat they could imagine. But all their designs assumed the prey would try to escape quickly or hide. They never considered prey that would just keep moving. Keep going forward no matter what." Dr. Soonbach's eyes widened. "You are right. That is a fundamental oversight. The architects were ambush predators themselves. Their military tactics relied on overwhelming force in short engagements. They never developed persistence hunting because it was not part of their nature. But it is part of human nature," Daeho said. Exactly. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. It is written into your biology, your culture, your entire way of thinking. When faced with an impossible obstacle, humans do not think about how to defeat it quickly. You think about how to outlast it? Young me laughed, though it was a tired sound. So we survived because we are too stubborn to know when to quit? In simple terms, yes, Dr. Soonbach smiled. You faced the perfect apex predator, designed by the most advanced civilization in known history. And you beat it through the most basic hunting strategy on Earth. Taesung stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars. How many ships have died in that nebula? Hundreds confirmed. Probably thousands total over the centuries. And none of them thought to just keep going? Would you? Dr. Soonbach asked gently. If something massive and terrifying attacked you in the dark, your first instinct would be to run away fast or fight back hard. Not to maintain steady speed for 47 hours. That kind of response is uniquely human. Hyojin saved all the data Dr. Soonbach had sent. This changes everything we know about the Veilborn, about the architects. This is important scientific discovery. It is more than that, Daeho said. This could change the entire galaxy. If we can cross the ash veil, trade routes can be reopened. Isolated colonies can be reconnected. The Veilborn have controlled this space for thousands of years. Maybe it is time for that to end. Be careful, Dr. Soonbach warned. The Veilborn are still dangerous. You survived, but you were also lucky, and very skilled. Not every crew could do what you did. Then we teach them, Jiwoo said. We share what we learned. Will anyone believe us? Young Mai asked. Everyone thinks the Veilborn are impossible to defeat. We have the proof, Hyojin said, pointing at the sensor logs. 47 hours of data. Every attack, every movement, every pattern. We can show exactly what we did and how we survived. Daeho thought about Captain Baroon's words again. About how everyone runs from the real apex predator. The Chromath warrior had been right. Everyone did run, but humans ran differently. We should return to harmonious exchange, he said. Deliver our cargo, then share what we learned. People will think we are crazy, Taesung said. Let them think that. The data does not lie. Dr. Soonbach smiled from the screen. I am very proud of you all. You not only survived an impossible situation, you also uncovered an important truth about an ancient mystery. The academic community will want to study this for years. We just wanted to deliver medical supplies, Daeho said with a small smile. And you did. You also proved that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The architects tried to create the perfect predator with advanced technology, but they could not predict something as simple as human stubbornness. After the call ended, the crew sat together in tired silence. They had learned something profound. The Veilborn were not unstoppable forces of nature. They were guardians that had outlived their purpose, monsters created by people who thought they could control everything. The architects made a mistake, Hyojin said. They created predators so perfect that nothing could stop them. Except they forgot that perfect predators still have limitations. Every predator gets tired, Taesung agreed. Every predator can be outlasted, Youngmi added. Daeho looked at his crew with pride. They were tired, battered, and still recovering. But they had done something impossible. Not through superior technology or overwhelming force, just through persistence, through the simple human refusal to give up. Set course for harmonious exchange, he ordered Jiwoo. Let's go home. As the ship turned away from the Ashvale Nebula, Daeho took one last look at the purple gases in the distance. The Veilborn were still there, still hunting, but now he knew their secret. They were not invincible. They could be outlasted, and humans were very, very good at outlasting things. The harmonious exchange station appeared on their sensors like a welcome beacon. The resilient Dawn had been traveling for 3 days since leaving the Ashvale Nebula. The crew had used that time to rest and repair what they could. But everyone was eager to dock and feel solid ground under their feet again. We are being hailed, Jiwoo reported. Multiple ships. They all want to know if we are really the crew that crossed the Ashvale. Daeho raised an eyebrow. How do they know? Dr. Soonbach published a preliminary report. It has spread through the academic networks. Now everyone is talking about it. Youngmi groaned. I just want to sleep in a real bed. Not answer questions. We should prepare a statement, Hyojin suggested. People will want to know everything. As they approached the docking bay, Daeho could see ships from a dozen different species waiting. News crews, scientists, military vessels. Everyone wanted to see the humans who had survived the Veilborn. The moment they docked, Velthar rushed through the airlock. The Qualaxian merchant moved faster than Deho had ever seen him move before. His antennae were vibrating wildly. "You are alive. You are alive." Velthar's translator could barely keep up with his excited chittering. "I lit memorial flames for you. I mourned, but you are alive." "Sorry about the flames," Deho said with a smile. "We did our best to come back. Nobody survives the ash veil, nobody." "But you did. How? How is this possible?" Before Deho could answer, Captain Barun appeared. The massive Chromath warrior walked slowly, his eyes fixed on the human crew. He stopped in front of Deho and studied him carefully. "I did not believe the reports," Barun said quietly. "I thought it was a mistake, that another ship had been mistaken for yours. But it is true. You crossed the Veilborn territory. We did. I told you that you would run from the real apex predator. You did tell us that." Barun was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something Deho never expected. The Chromath warrior bowed his head in respect. "I was wrong. You are braver than I thought possible. Or perhaps," he paused, searching for words, "perhaps I did not understand what apex predator truly means." More aliens gathered around them. Scientists asking questions, military officers wanting tactical details, trade representatives already planning new routes through the nebula. The attention was overwhelming. A stern voice cut through the noise. "Clear the way. Official business." The crowd parted for a tall, elegant alien with silver skin and multiple arms. It was Council Arbiter Chiral, one of the highest-ranking officials in the Galactic Council. Where Chiral went, important decisions followed. "Captain Deho," Chiral said formally, "your achievement has caused quite a discussion in the Council. Some are impressed. Others are concerned." "Concerned about what?" Deho asked. "About what your species represents? You have only been part of galactic society for a short time, yet you have already done something no other species has accomplished. Some council members wonder if humans are dangerous." Taesung stepped forward, his hand moving toward his weapon, but Deho touched his arm, stopping him. "With respect, Arbiter, we are cargo haulers. We delivered medical supplies to a colony. That is not dangerous. You crossed territory that has been forbidden for thousands of years. You survived creatures that have killed countless others. This suggests your species has abilities we do not fully understand." Hyojin spoke up. "We are not special. We just did what humans have always done. We kept going when others would have stopped." "That is precisely what concerns some," Chiral said. "A species that does not know when to stop can be unpredictable." Captain Barun laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "With respect, Arbiter, that is fear-talking. The Council has grown comfortable with the way things are. These humans have shown that the impossible is merely difficult. That frightens those who benefit from keeping things impossible." Velthar chittered in agreement. "For centuries, the ash veil has divided the galaxy. Trade routes have been inefficient. Colonies have been isolated, all because we accepted that the Veilborn could not be crossed. But the humans proved we were wrong." Other aliens in the crowd began speaking up. Some agreed with Barun and Velthar. Others sided with the Council's concerns. The debate grew heated. Chiral raised multiple hands for silence. "There will be a formal council hearing. Until then, Captain Deho, you and your crew are confined to the station." "Are we prisoners?" Youngmi asked. "You are guests, but you will not leave until the council decides what your achievement means for galactic society." After Chiral left, the crew retreated to their ship. They sat together in the common area, exhausted and confused. "This is not what I expected," Jiwoo said. "I thought they would thank us, not treat us like a threat." "Change is always threatening," Taesung said. "We changed something fundamental. Of course they are scared." Deho was about to respond when the communication system beeped. It was a private channel request. He accepted it. Dr. Soonbok's face appeared. "I heard about the Council's reaction. I am sorry. I did not think my report would cause so much trouble." "You were just sharing the truth," Hyojin said. "Yes, but the truth can be uncomfortable. The galaxy has lived in fear of the Veilborn for so long that it became normal. You disrupted that normal. Some people do not like disruption." "What will the Council decide?" Deho asked. "I do not know, but I will speak on your behalf at the hearing. You deserve recognition, not suspicion." The hearing took place 2 days later in the Council chambers. Deho, Hyojin, and Taesung represented their crew. The chamber was massive, with seats for representatives from hundreds of species. All of them wanted to witness this historic moment. Arbiter Kirill presided over the hearing. We are here to discuss the implications of humanity crossing the Ashvale Nebula. Captain Deho, please explain how you accomplished this. Deho stood. The chamber was intimidating, but he thought about his crew and found courage. We did not do anything special. The Veilborn attacked us just as they have attacked everyone else, but instead of panicking or turning back, we kept moving forward. We maintained steady speed for 47 hours until we crossed their territory. That is all. One council member sounded skeptical. You simply kept moving? Yes, other species have tried this. They failed. Hyojin stood up beside Deho. With respect, I do not think they tried exactly what we did. The Veilborn are ambush predators. They are designed for short, powerful attacks. They expect prey to either escape quickly or die quickly. But humans evolved as persistence hunters. We are built to keep going for long periods. The Veilborn could not adapt to prey that simply refused to stop. Dr. Sunbach addressed the council from her remote location. I have studied the architects for decades. They designed the Veilborn to be perfect apex predators, but they based their design on their own understanding of hunting. They never encountered a species like humans. Are you saying humans are superior to the architects? Another council member asked, sounding offended. No, Dr. Sunbach replied. I am saying humans are different. The architects were brilliant, but they had blind spots. Everyone does. The Veilborn were engineered to counter every threat the architects could imagine. They just could not imagine something as simple as prey that walks away slowly but never stops walking. Captain Baroon stood up from his seat. I wish to speak. Kirill nodded permission. I have fought in many battles, Baroon said. I have seen many brave warriors, but I told these humans they would run from the real apex predator. I was certain they would die. He paused. I was wrong. Not because humans are stronger or smarter, but because they understand something we have forgotten. True strength is not about being the biggest or the fastest. It is about refusing to give up. The chamber fell silent. Then Velthar stood as well. The humans took a contract nobody else would accept. They risked their lives to deliver medicine to a colony. They did this not for glory, but because it needed to be done. This is not dangerous. This is honorable. More aliens stood up, speaking in support of the humans. Not all agreed, but the tide was turning. Finally, Kirill raised his hands. The council has heard enough. We will deliberate and announce our decision. The deliberation lasted 3 hours. When the council returned, Kirill looked at Deho with an expression that was hard to read. The council has decided. The human crew will not be punished or restricted. Instead, they will be recognized for their achievement. Trade routes through the Ashvale Nebula will be opened, with human ships serving as guides until other species learn the techniques you developed. You have changed the galaxy. For this, we thank you. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some cheered, others grumbled. But the decision was made. As the crew left the chambers, they were surrounded by well-wishers and potential clients. Everyone wanted to hire the humans who had beaten the Veilborn. The offers were overwhelming. We should celebrate, Youngmi said. We earned it. That night, the crew gathered at a station bar with their friends. Velthar brought expensive drinks. Captain Baroon told stories of his battles. Dr. Sunbach joined via video call to toast their success. The atmosphere was warm and happy. What will you do next? Baroon asked Deho. Deho looked at his crew, his friends. Then he smiled. Another impossible route, probably. Someone has to try. 3 weeks later, the resilient Dawn prepared for another journey.